The global economic order has been redrawn. As of today, October 1st, 2025, India has officially surpassed Japan to become the world's fourth largest economy. This is not just a statistical footnote, it is a seismic shift, a moment that redefines the balance of power in Asia and across the globe. For decades, the world watched China's meteoric rise. Now, another Asian giant is making its ascent, driven by a different engine and following a unique path. This milestone is the culmination of years of steady, if sometimes turbulent, growth. It reflects a nation of 1.4 billion people beginning to unlock its immense potential, moving from the periphery of the global economy toward its very center. Digital transformation and newfound ambition. This transition was not a sudden event, but the result of a slow and steady climb. While Japan's economy has grappled with an aging population and slower growth for years, India's has been propelled forward by a youthful demographic dividend. Millions of young people are entering the workforce each year, fueling consumption and innovation. The nominal GDP figures, when measured in US dollars, tell a clear story. India's economic output has expanded relentlessly, while Japan's has stagnated in relative terms. We are witnessing a historic changing of the guard, where the old industrial powers of the 20th century are making way for the emerging titans of the 21st. The question is no longer if India will rise, but how it will shape the world as it does. India's economy is now valued at over $4.5 trillion, edging past Japan's. This achievement is even more remarkable when you consider where India stood just 2 decades ago. At the turn of the millennium, it was barely $1 trillion economy, often dismissed as a land of paradoxes, a rich culture with widespread poverty. Today, that narrative is being rewritten. The drivers of this growth are multifaceted, ranging from a booming services sector, particularly in technology finance, to a renewed push in manufacturing under the Make in India initiative. This is a complex, bottom-up expansion, less reliant on state-directed mega-projects and more on the entrepreneurial energy of its people. So, what does it mean to be the fourth largest economy? It all comes down to a metric called Gross Domestic Product, GDP. GDP is the total value of everything produced within a country's borders, usually measured over a year. It measures all the goods, cars, smartphones, factories, crops, and all the services, software development, haircuts. When we say India's GDP has surpassed Japan's, we mean India's total economic output is now greater. That number signals economic might on the world stage. Why does this single number matter so much? Because a larger GDP gives a country more clout. It means a bigger tax base to fund public services, infrastructure, defense, healthcare. It also signals to international investors a large, growing market worth investing in. For India, rising GDP is a sign of progress, a statistical move out of poverty. It's a headline that grabs global leaders and multinational corporations. To truly understand India's position, we must compare it with its peers. Right ahead of India in the global rankings is Germany, the world's third largest economy. The contrast between the two is striking. Germany is an export-driven powerhouse, a model of industrial precision and high-end manufacturing. Its economy is built on decades of engineering excellence, a highly skilled workforce, an aging population. India, in comparison, is a domestic consumption-driven story. Its growth is powered by its vast internal market, a young aspirational population. While Germany perfects the combustion engine, India is building digital payment platforms for hundreds of millions of users. Then there is the unavoidable comparison with China. For years, the world has asked, will India be the next China? The answer is clearly no. China's economic miracle was built on a state-led, top-down model. For the average Indian citizen, the news that India is now the fourth largest economy might feel distant from their daily struggles. What does a multi-trillion-dollar GDP figure mean for a farmer in Uttar Pradesh or a shopkeeper in Mumbai? The connection is not always direct, but it is real. A larger economy generates more jobs. As companies expand and hire more people, technology, retail, logistics. While high-quality formal jobs remain scarce, expansion creates more employment options, from gig economy delivery drivers to software engineers. This growth also translates, slowly and unevenly, into rising incomes. As demand for labor increases, wages begin to tick upward, particularly for skilled and semi-skilled workers. A rising GDP ranking acts like a giant flashing sign for global investors, reading, "Open for business." As India overtakes Japan, it solidifies its position as a large-scale growth market. Global capital is always searching for returns. Aging populations in the West, saturated Western markets. India stands out. Foreign direct investment, or FDI, is flowing into the country at a record pace. Companies like Apple are shifting production here, not just to serve the Indian market, but to build a global manufacturing hub outside of China. This China Plus One strategy is a massive tailwind for India. This influx of foreign capital has a cascading effect on the domestic economy. It brings not just money, technology, management expertise, access to global supply chains. While the headline growth number is impressive, a look beneath the surface reveals a host of formidable challenges. These challenges could derail India's ascent. The most significant is the deeply entrenched problem of inequality. The gap between the rich and the poor is widening. Billionaires are being minted in the cities. Hundreds of millions still live on just a few dollars a day. This is not just a moral issue, it is an economic one. Extreme inequality can lead to social unrest and political instability. It also limits the size of the domestic market if many people are too poor to buy goods and services. Consumption-led growth will eventually hit a wall. The second major challenge is the quality of human capital. India's demographic dividend could become a demographic disaster if the youth are not equipped with the right skills. The education system, especially at primary and secondary levels, is in crisis. Learning outcomes are poor. Many graduates are considered unemployable by industry. Similarly, the public healthcare system is chronically underfunded and overwhelmed. A population that is poorly educated and unhealthy cannot be productive. Without massive, urgent investment in education and health, India won't sustain high growth. Becoming the fourth largest economy is not just about money, it's about power. A country's economic weight is directly correlated with its influence on the global stage. With its new ranking, India's voice will carry more heft in international forums like the Group of 20, the United Nations, the World Trade Organization. For years, India has been a balancing power, but now it is emerging as a leading power in its own right. Its positions on global issues, climate change negotiations, regulations on artificial intelligence will now command greater attention and respect. The world can no longer afford to ignore New Delhi. This economic rise reshapes global geopolitics, particularly in the context of the United States-China rivalry. India's ascent to the number 4 spot is a milestone, not a final destination. The path to becoming the world's third largest economy, which would mean overtaking Germany, is now clearly in sight and could happen within the next few years. The real challenge will be the long climb after that. To sustain its growth momentum, often referred to as the dancing elephant, India must embark on a new wave of structural reforms. The low-hanging fruit has been picked. The next phase of growth requires tackling more complex issues that have been kicked down the road for far too long. The elephant must not only dance, but it must also become more agile. The first priority must be to create jobs. Not just any jobs, but productive, formal sector jobs. This means reviving the manufacturing sector. While the services boom has been impressive, It cannot absorb the millions of low-skilled and semi-skilled workers entering the labor force each year. India needs a manufacturing renaissance, focusing on labor-intensive sectors like textiles, electronics assembly, and food processing. This requires simplifying labor laws, improving logistics infrastructure, and ensuring a stable policy environment to attract the long-term capital needed for building factories. The Make in India slogan must be translated into a tangible reality on the ground. India's journey to becoming the fourth largest economy is a story of a nation finally beginning to convert its immense potential into economic power. This is a moment of genuine significance, a testament to the resilience and dynamism of its people. The raw ingredients for sustained success are all in place. Favorable demographics, a vibrant domestic market, a world-class technology sector, and a democratic political system. The path to becoming the world's third largest economy is now a short-term inevitability. The long-term ambition, to become a developed and prosperous nation by the time it turns 100 in 2047, is within the realm of possibility. However, the path forward is fraught with peril. The challenges of inequality, poor human capital, infrastructure bottlenecks, and environmental degradation are not trivial. They are structural breaks that could halt the growth engine. India's greatest enemy is often itself. Its stifling bureaucracy, its political divisions, and its resistance to deep-seated reforms. The future is not preordained. Now, it must prove it has the stamina to keep dancing for decades to come, lifting hundreds of millions into prosperity. The Indian century has begun.